guys, it is I, Otakushinsaku, back again for another reaction. This time, don't sleep on VLAD. And pretty sure you guys have guessed by now from the previous other reaction videos I've made, but I'm a bit of a Fate fan, so let's get into this and see if and how my mind is going to be blown on this motherfucker.
Please do not act like you forgot. It is Uncle Vlad reporting live to the scene. If nobody's gonna give him his credit, you know that we will. In Fate Apocrypha, when Karna tried to speed blitz him from behind, Vlad was able to turn around and respond with no effort at all. You had Karna try to do this again with a fireball, even while being hidden by the smoke, and it still didn't work. Vlad still blocked it. You had them fighting on equal ground, despite the fact that they traded several blows, Vlad even going as far to trap Karna by manipulating his stakes in the fight. Mind you that Karna is a top servant. He was delivering an onslaught of blows all at one time, and Vlad was able to keep up with every single one of them. He also tried to hit Vlad with an energy blast right after the fact, and Vlad was still quick enough to deflect it. From the novel, we know that he was able to take down 49 mages sent from the clock tower in just 30 seconds alone. He has the ability to manipulate his stakes and use them as a form of defense. When Atalanta tried to shoot an arrow at his blind spot, the stakes took care of the hit just before it reached him. And to top it off, she shot him while he was still fighting against Karna. He has great reflexes, being able to catch a wine glass from Carmilla without even realizing that he had done it. His reaction time is just that good. In Apocrypha specifically, you have his Defender of the State EX, which is a buff that he gets from being in his homeland. While he's fighting in Romania, he gets an increase to all his parameters, and he gains access to his Bay Phantasm. His combat skills are on par with the Berserker with A rank mad enhancement, and overall it's said that him being in his domain puts him on par with Achilles, who is also a top servant. This is how he was able to keep up with Karna so easily. If he leaves his homeland, then his powers turn to regular status. You have his mad enhancement EX, the highest level of mad enhancement that you can have, upping his stats by a great amount while being one of the only spirits that keep their sanity. You have his blood sucking at A rank that plays on his background of him being Dracula. This allows him to turn people into minions by sucking on their blood. We know that he can turn into a cloud of mist at will. This is thanks to his shape-shifting skill at C rank. This also lets him turn into bats, making him more difficult to deal with up close than the average servant. He has one of the highest levels of battle continuation at A rank. Despite him taking on numerous fatal wounds, you will not be seeing him back down until you finish him off completely. From the story, we know that he has access to a horse that's actually a golem created for him by Aversbraun, giving him higher mobility than normal with zero cost to him. We've seen this same horse jump off of a 100-meter cliff with Vlad on him, and the novel tells us that it still wouldn't take any damage from this. The horse is also seen keeping up with Frankenstein, who is an entire servant that runs at a great speed on her own. The novel tells us that the horse can run on top of his stakes if it needs to, and it still won't receive any damage. You have his
That's not a horse. That is a Skyrim horse. That is a glitched out fucking bullshit broken horse. That is a horse that is receiving all the benefits of the fact that Bethesda can't program physics correctly. Like, that is bullshit.
Phantasm, the Lord of Execution, which plays on his background of him executing 20,000 Ottoman. The story tells us that the Phantasm gives him free reign to take out at least 10,000 people. Beyond him being able to create these stakes, they also work conceptually as well, being able to puncture Karna multiple times at once from the inside out. The stakes are also made to connect with each other, meaning that he can create more from the ones that already exist. We know that at his best, he can summon at least 2,000 of them at one time. And in Apocrypha specifically, as long as he had enough mana, he could keep making an infinite amount. At the time where he had Krana trapped within his stakes, he created an entire hailstorm that not only weaved throughout the sky, but he could control the direction as he pleases. We've even seen him divide his storm into multiple sections in order to trap Krana so he couldn't escape. When he was up against the 50 magi from the clock tower, they all tried to hit him with their spells at once, and before he took them down, he just sat there negating them all. We've seen that his stakes are powerful enough to stop Spartacus despite him being a berserker and having great physical strength in his own right. We've seen him use these against the Dragon Tooth warriors. He was able to take down 500 of them in 30 seconds just like he did the Magi. We know that when he pierced Krana from the inside out, he actually hit his heart multiple times with his stakes, but he has to pierce the enemy at least one time before he can use this concept. He tactfully brought these out of the ground the moment that Krana landed in order to spear him through the foot and trap him in that same location. Even without his buff, when he was in Semiramis's Hanging Gardens, he was still able to block Krana's fireball with his stakes by using them as a barrier, and didn't have a scratch on him either. From Grand Order, we've seen that he can imbue his stakes with magical energy to make them more powerful upon contact. He can extend his stake from one of his hands and enlarge it with energy, changing it into a form of an energy sword. Then you have his Phantasm Legend of Dracula, which completely takes on his legend form, one that he hates to use. This transforms him into a vampire entirely, drastically increasing his power, his speed, and his size all at the same time. Even after Darnik had fused himself with his spirit, Vlad was still resisting the spell even after losing control, just to show his level of willpower. When Joan tried to suffocate him with the command spell around the neck, he was able to break out of it with just strength alone. Keep in mind that Joan, as a ruler, is supposed to have authority over all the servants, and it still didn't work on him. This man was physically bending the rules. You had Darnik mention that if he had got a hold of Krana while he was in this form, he could actually tear him apart. While Darnik was trying to take over his body, before he actually got it to work, Vlad still was able to run straight through him with his spear, ignoring the mental interference. While he's in this form, it's said that each stake has the power on the level of a noble phantasm. Again, going back to his ridiculous speed, when he caught up with Krana, Krana didn't even realize what was happening, and Vlad followed this up by punching him into the wall. One of the greatest feats we've seen in Apocrypha, we saw Vlad take on 6 servants, including a ruler and top servants, all at once, and they were the ones having a hard time.
But Dracula's a badass. I mean, clearly, obviously, Vlad the Impaler hates this noble phantasm because, he hates the fact that to the rest of the world outside of his home country, he is more known as Dracula, or the inspiration for Dracula, than, he himself. Which you can understand. You can understand that it's like, well, I hate the fact that I am more famous to the rest of the world as being the inspiration for Dracula, and thus so many people believe that I actually was Dracula. More so than what I actually did, which was, to defend my country. So, you can understand that. It's like, I don't like the fact that everyone thinks that I'm literally a fucking vampire. So, and you can understand that, to him, it's literally an insult that because of this fame, that his spirit origin as a servant has literally gained the ability through Noble Phantasm to turn into Dracula, because of the fact that, to the unconscious will of humanity, he is Dracula. So, you can kind of see this whole messed up thing with him, and it's great that Fate Apocrypha played with this idea of the fact that he himself would hate the idea of turning into Dracula, because he would see it as a bastardization of his of his story, his history, what he did when he was alive. But at the same time, for it being a noble phantasm that he hates, it is surely a insanely powerful noble phantasm, because you're not just turned into a vampire. You are turned into the vampire that to this day, other vampire stories are compared to. Right? To this day, you have, consumers and readers like me who, whenever we experience a story about vampires, like, say, Interview with a Vampire or fucking Twilight, every single time we go with that, what do we always ask? Where's Dracula? Like, we all, like, don't kid me out there. We all do it. That's a thought in the back of our head is like, where's the Twilight Dracula? Where's the Interview with the Vampire Dracula? Where's the, What We Do in the Shadows? Where's Dracula? Like, every single time you run into with a vampire story, it's always in the back of your mind, where the fuck is Dracula? Like, so much so that even the designers of Castlevania knew that they couldn't avoid it. Like, the original designers of Castlevania was like, okay, the final boss is going to be a vampire, a single vampire, because, vampires are that powerful. And you could just tell, like, well, we could make the vampire, we could give the vampire, a unique name. Nah, it's just gonna be Dracula. Like, let's not get ourselves. It's just gonna be Dracula. Like, he is the most well-known vampire on the planet. Like, the instant you say vampire, people think Dracula, and when you think Dracula, you think vampire. Like, the two are interlinked in a way that's, like, not really so much with other mythical species. So, like, the fact, like it is, like, Dracula is so interlinked with vampires that he is not just a vampire. He is the vampire. And so what I love about how they showed Dracula in this is that, as a fan of Dracula and Dracula-based stories, is that they made Dracula just an absolute badass. So, like, I love it. I love when my favorite characters from, fantasy are brought to other stories, and they're just shown to be absolute badasses. It's just like Dracula in Castlevania is a fucking badass, so much so that he's basically, in every Castlevania game that he appears in, he's not just a boss, he is the end boss. And he's so powerful that even when you canonically, quote-unquote, kill him, you don't actually kill him, you just basically send him to sleep, and then he just wakes up in the next Castlevania game where another Belmont has to defeat Dracula again, because this motherfucker just does not know how to die. Like, Dracula is so powerful in Castlevania that literally the concept of death just eludes him. Which makes sense, because we're talking about a guy who literally has death on his... who literally has death, as in the Grim Reaper, on his fucking payroll in his castle. Like, yeah. So, yeah, Dracula's a fucking badass, and I love that Fate Apocrypha made Dracula an absolute badass when he was finally shown. So much so that, again, it takes multiple servants, some of whom are near close to being divine spirits on themselves, because we're talking about literally Achilles, who, like, where Achilles has to team up with others, we're talking fucking Achilles has to team up with other servants in order to do any damage to Dracula, because he is just that powerful.
He managed to stop Achilles in the middle of his pursuit, grabbed him by his own spear, and slammed him into the ground. Just him missing one of his strikes against Achilles was enough to gouge out multiple openings in the entire wall. You can just imagine how bad this would be.
Yeah, and keep in mind, for those who aren't following along, that's not a normal wall. These are the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. This is literally another servant's noble phantasm, right? He just gouged three giant, you look at that, look at how ridiculous that is. Gouged three giant fucking massive holes into the walls of the mythical Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Which, again, these aren't just the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. These are reinforced. This is the myth of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon made flesh, made manifest. Because this is a noble phantasm. So he basically did physical damage to a noble phantasm with just one strike of his claws. Dracula is a fucking badass.
If the hit actually connected. In terms of defense, you had Karna outright impale him through the heart, and it did nothing to him. When he grabbed Achilles by the spear, this was after Achilles shoved the spear straight through his arm, starting off with the front of his hand, and he just ignored the damage and regenerated his body before giving him the work. When he was getting shot multiple times by Atalanta's arrows, even taking a shot directly to his eyeball, the man was laughing, took out her arrows with his hand, and flat out regenerated. You had him take on multiple hits from average bronze golems, and they couldn't put a dent on him. When Chiron tried to use 5 arrows to shoot Vlad in the legs and slow him down, not only did Vlad take the hit head on, but he used his shape-shifting ability to turn into a swarm of bats and ignore the damage. When Semiramis hit Vlad with her lightning defense system from her Hanging Garden, he just straight up tanked it. When Chiron landed a kick straight to his chest and knocked him into the wall, this wasn't enough to stop him either. We know that when Achilles tried to attack him, the novel tells us that the spear was traveling faster than Mach speed, outright saying it was like catching a missile barehanded. While he's shooting out his stakes in this form, they also come out in supersonic speed. He managed to speed blitz Karna and use his stake concept on himself for a porcupine effect.
This dude!
Having both him and Achilles at once, the split second that Achilles got distracted, he tactfully used this to his advantage and speed blitzed him into a wall. The story tells us that he moves at a speed so fast that he might as well be teleported.
Oh my god! He's moving so fast. Keep in mind, these are servants we're talking about. So their reaction time is not comparable to us humans, right? To us humans, these servants are basically moving at so fast that we would think that they're teleporting. But to even the increased reaction speed of servants, like, again, we're talking the reaction speed of servants like Achilles and Chiron, even they say to them with their reaction speeds that Dracula is moving so fast, the motherfucker literally might as well be teleporting. Oh, Broken doesn't even begin to cover it.
Prior to him getting kicked by Chiron, you had him weave around multiple of Atalanta's arrows while being in the air. If Vlad can time it properly, he can straight up negate moves by using his shape-shifting ability, using this on Chiron when he tried to shoot him in the back with his arrows. He also can use this shape-shifting ability for travel, giving him access to flight, something that's only available to a certain number of servants. On top of him taking Semiramis' lasers head on, we've seen him outright dodge her lasers with just a moment to spare. He can shoot his stakes directly out of the palm of his hands in the form of a machine gun. His blood-sucking skill allowed him to turn homunculi into his vampiric minions. This works as a chain effect, also allowing his minions to turn others as well, giving him the ability to create his own army. He can manipulate his effect of turning himself into mist and use a projectile sludge to hold you in place. We've seen him use this against Karna to trap his foot. He was able to find the location of the Holy Grail in the Hanging Gardens just by using its scent alone. Something very unique to him is that he's allowed to bypass the conceptual defense of Achilles due to Vlad's vampire bites not being an actual attack and more so a move to make you his ally. These don't count against him. In this form, he has a heightened level of instincts, one that told him how dangerous that Shirokotamine actually was. We've seen that its extra form was able to pierce straight through Passion Lip by using his spear. He was one of the few servants that were capable of holding Passion Lip down despite her monstrous strength alongside Gawain.
For those who have not played Fate Extra, this may not seem like that impressive. But this is top of the line impressive. Like, the word impressive doesn't even cut this. Because to you, dear viewers, you might be seeing just a big booby waifu. But that big booby waifu is basically a concept main manifest, because in Fate Extra, where the Sakuras appear, these are creations where basically the main Sakura, the main villain behind the story, creates these other Sakuras to basically be her guards, her minions to protect, and she wants the strongest guards. So you know what she does? She takes, literally, she goes in, because this isn't Fate Extra, this is basically like Fate, the Matrix, the digital world. So she goes into basically the digital files of the Moon Cell and just starts plucking out mother goddess souls. So basically she goes into the various mother goddesses of the various myths of humanity and just takes multiple of these mother goddesses' souls. And when I say mother goddesses, I don't mean like the goddesses who gave birth to other gods. I'm talking about the mother goddesses who gave birth to the planet. We're talking the original mother goddesses, like capital M mother goddesses, right? These are the goddesses that were responsible for giving birth to the fucking planet, not just the gods, the planet itself. So we're talking like literally Gaia herself is one of them. And then you've got like Tiamat from Babylonian myth and stuff like that. And so when you hear that this Sakura character is being held down, I want you to understand this is a Sakura character who has like 2 or 3 mother goddesses' souls powering her. So basically what Vlad is doing with these other servants on screen is he is actually helping to hold down the combined might of multiple mother goddesses, basically. Again, to say that this is not impressive, to say that this is impressive is not even covering it. This is whack right here. This is straight up whack right here. This is like absolute ridiculous.
Elizabeth and Robin Hood, it's important to note that Passion Lip has greater physical strength than all of them combined. In the Seraph chapter, he told Gawain that he couldn't pierce him as easily as he would normally due to the fact that a demon god was inside of his body. Again, you have his conceptual ability to summon stakes from the inside of his body, but this time they come out in the form of actual weapons. He took a hit straight to the chest from Emiya Alter's Noble Phantasm Unlimited Lost Works. Not only was Emiya Alter surprised, but he also praised Vlad for this, saying that it should have finished him immediately. Emiya himself pointing out that Vlad is tough.
Yes. For those who don't know, that is beyond impressive, because what Emiya's Noble Phantasm is that he has his guns, Kansha and Byakuya, and what he does with them when he activates his Noble Phantasm is he shoots you with Kansha and Byakuya, right? Now, getting shot with a conceptual gun, is already bad enough, because those guns are not just normal guns. Those are guns that he literally creates out of literally ether clumps and stuff like that. So it's literally just him projecting these guns into existence. Basically through just pure willpower, he is making these guns exist. So you're being shot with a gun and bullets that are literally just willpower made manifest, basically in basic terms, before I trail off and get into the actual way that they work. But in either case, just to really dumb it down for the masses, basically he's shooting you with projectiles willpower, basically. And So that's not bad enough. What he does when he activates his noble phantasm is that with the bullet as the core inside your body, he activates unlimited lost works, which basically manifests his noble phantasm to spring forth out of you. Now, that may not sound bad until you realize what every version of Emiya's noble phantasm is, which is their reality marble, which is basically a pocket dimension that they create and they're basically the god of. And for normal, like, Archer Emiya, the Unlimited Blade Works version is it takes you into this reality marble, and inside the reality marble is unlimited blades, as it says, unlimited blade works. Because Emiya's core as a mage, his core, his thing is swords. So when you go into unlimited blade works, you are surrounded by you are inside of a field that is surrounded by unlimited blades. Okay. Now, that's already bad enough. But then you have unlimited lost works, which inverts it and goes, no. Those blades, you are not taken to the field of blades. You become the field of blades. So basically, every cell of your body, literally every minute, tiny electron of your body gets turned into a sword. Like, imagine the agony of feeling every blood cell being turned into a blade. Like, it is agony on a level you have not seen. Like, for anyone who's ever passed like a kidney stone, you know. Now imagine if that kidney stone was literally every single fucking red blood cell in your body. And then imagine your veins being turned into a blade. And then your heart being turned into a blade. And your brain being turned into a... Like, your entire body is becoming blades. Swords. To say this noble phantasm is deadly is not even close. And the fact that Vlad tanked unlimited lost works. This guy is broken. This guy can literally take the agony of experiencing every fiber and cell of his body becoming a sword, and he just goes, "That's neat. I'm gonna keep existing. I'm gonna keep going." Oh, this guy.
In this form, he's went head up with the servant Cucullin, being shown to be able to hold his own with little problem. Again, Ku is also a top servant. In the Sarah chapter, you had Tristan say that he couldn't hope to defeat Vlad.
Keep in mind, we're talking about again, Sir Tristan here. We're talking about a fucking Knight of the Round Table, a legendary, worldwide known fucking Knight of the Round Table, who, by the way, doesn't it, like, you think that's a bow he's holding. That's cute. No, that's a harp. This guy literally takes audio and attacks you with sound. Like, the arrows he's shooting is not traditional arrows. He's literally shooting you with basically air in the form of an arrow. This guy takes literally the air pressure that for like how sound is created, and turns that into a weapon. So again, Tristan in his own right is a fucking broken ass servant, and even Tristan's like, nah, I can't defeat him. Like, this is fucking ridiculous.
due to his level in the chapter. Despite him being severely wounded by Passion Lip alongside Gawain, he still managed to survive and continue fighting. And once again, we have his Fortress of Impalement Phantasm that he used to hit multiple demon god pillars all at one time at a great distance. This even put Lev Liner on the run in the process. The Phantasm taking his stakes a step further by summoning an entire field's worth of weapons before finally putting his targets on a skewer to finish it off. We like that rotisserie well done. Just like in his real life, you can find out what happens when you underestimate his skill, just like the Ottoman. He's able to summon countless stakes from outside and inside his body. He has his vampire composite form that can take on up to 6 servants, many of them being of the highest level. If you fight him in his territory, it puts him on par with some of the best servants in Fate. Even if you fight him outside of his territory, he can shape shift to increase his reaction speed or negate attacks altogether. Even without the buffs from his homeland, you'd be reaching to not give him at least a B rank.
This dude. Ugh. Yeah, that's broken. That's all I gotta say about that. So I'll see you guys next time with another reaction or another video, whatever I do, but I hope to see you guys there. I'm, of course, Otakushinsaku, and I will see you next time.